Next up, we have Field Combat by Delico. This is a port of Jellicoe's 1985 arcade game. Now oddly, this Famicom version actually looks an awful lot like the original arcade release. There hasn't really been much of a graphical downgrade from the arcade version. This is a little strange. I mean, the arcade version looks like it came out more like in 1982 rather than 1985. If you think about it, 1985 was the year that games like Ghosts and Goblins were coming out, which, looked about 10 times better than games like this. Now this game might be described as a vertical shooter, but it's not really. It's actually more of a commando type game. There's no forced scrolling, the enemies don't just whiz by you, don't shoot them, and everything's at a much slower pace than most shooters. Something that's a bizarre little coincidence is the prototype for all these kind of games, which was called Frontline, will actually be released for the Famicom very shortly after this game. Now there are several ways that field combat differs from your typical run and gun type game. One of them is levels are actually quite short. It has a number of short levels rather than like several larger levels. The object is to get to the very top, knock out the big guns guarding it, and then go through the gate. Once you've done that, you'll go on to the next level, or the next pattern, as this game calls them for some reason. Now the really novel thing about field combat is they've taken a concept from Galaga and pretty much turned it on its head. Rather than your enemies having a tractor beam they can use to suck up your ship, you are equipped yourself with a tractor beam that you can use to suck up enemy units. If you look in the lower right hand corner, you'll see that it actually shows you which units you have in reserve. These are enemies that you've captured. You can call as many of these as you like into combat by hitting both buttons at once. If you lost all your reserve units, you can then get more by using your tractor beam to suck up the enemies. Now occasionally a UFO will come along, and as you can see, he will spirit away the friendly units that you have on the screen. So these unique features, such as the ability to capture enemy units and then use them against the enemies, is something that sort of separates this from the other games in the genre. This game certainly is actually pretty fun to play, at least for a little while. And it's certainly not nearly as bad as Frontline, which we'll be seeing very soon.